We can go far united. United we hike and bike.
United we ride and roll.
United we walk and run.
United we trek and explore.
We can go far united.
United.
United we trail.
Welcome to the Great American Rail Trail Route Reveal. Everyone at Rails to Trails Conservancy is so excited to be celebrating this incredible moment with all of you today. I'm Brandy Horton, Vice President of Communications at Rails to Trails, and I'm your host for today's festivities. You're going to experience many of the aspects of what makes the strategy to complete the Great American Rail Trail powerful and what makes this trail so very special. We'll visit live Great American Rail Trail celebrations that are happening all across the country, from the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., which is the eastern terminus of the Great American, to Columbus, Ohio on the Camp Chase Trail, where I am right now. Say hi, everyone. Heading west, we're going to go to the crew on the ground in Three Forks, Montana, and we're going to wrap up in South Cle Elum, Washington on the Palouse to Cascades Trail. The Great American Rail Trail is something like we've never before had in our country. A multi-use trail completely separated from vehicle traffic that spans the nation from Washington to Washington. Imagine how epic the journey across the country will be when you take it all in from the trail. Nothing will be more intimate or more inspiring. Today, we're going to explore the national impact of the Great American. We're going to explore what the state and community leadership that's necessary to bring it to life, the benefits this trail will bring to those who visit and those who live beside it. This week also marks another important date in American history. It's the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad. We knew when we wanted to launch the Great American Rail Trail that we wanted to celebrate it in conjunction with this anniversary. On May 10th, 1869, the Golden Spike was driven into the ground, and how we traveled the country changed forever. Today, we celebrate that iconic American heritage with the unveiling of an entirely new way to explore the nation, on a trail built from these priceless railroad corridors. This celebration has been 30 years in the making. Let's now check in on Washington, D.C., where RTC's president, Ryan Chow, is ready to kick things off.
Welcome. What an exciting day. I'm Ryan Chow, president of Rails to Trails Conservancy, and I'm here with Kate Kraft, executive director of America Walks and board chair of Rails to Trails. This is an incredible moment in trail history, really in our nation's history. The moment we unveil the route of the Great American Rail Trail. Really though, this event has been 30 years in the making. This cross-country trail was a dream of our co-founders, David Burwell and Peter Harnick. In the 1980s, when the rail trail movement was gaining steam, Rails to Trails was at the forefront, leading the nation in identifying and transforming unused rail corridors into vibrant trails. As more and more rail trails took root, we saw the potential of a cross-country multi-use trail spanning the nation. That vision has been the underpinning of Rails to Trails strategy to create a nationwide network of trails ever since. Over the past 2 decades, under Keith Laughlin's leadership, Rails to Trails has joined trail managers, advocates, state leaders to help create more than 23,000 miles of rail trail. 23,000. It is thanks to this leadership and the entire trails movement that I'm able to stand here today and say that the time is now to complete the Great American Rail Trail. The plan for the Great American is unprecedented. It will be the very first trail to cross the nation, creating a walkable, bikeable path entirely separated from car traffic over a distance of more than 3,700 miles. It will pass through 12 states including the District of Columbia, and will be hosted by more than 125 beautiful existing trails. And it's more than 50% complete right now. This is the tipping point we first identified when connecting the full route would be viable. Over the entire route, the Great American will reach more than 50 million people within 50 miles. Let me repeat that. 50 million people within 50 miles. That's an incredible local impact for all of those who live near the route, and an unparalleled experience for the countless people who will visit the trail from across the country and around the world. This is a bold vision. We know that. We're excited by that. And we're up to the challenge to complete it. But we'll need all of your support to do so. That's why today we're putting out a call for 1 million people to support the Great American Rail Trail. We're putting out this call to show the strength and solidarity of the trails movement and to demonstrate just how much America wants this trail. Everyone can pledge at greatamericanrailtrail.org. Here in D.C., where the trail begins in the east, we're honored to have Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton with us. Representative Norton provides crucial leadership as the chair of the subcommittee that governs federal funding for trails. And we're grateful to have Rick May, who oversees the country's recreation activities on public lands, as Senior National Advisor for Recreation to the Secretary of the Interior. Thank you both for being here to show your support of this effort. We've heard the excitement from thousands of people all across the country, from rural communities and urban centers, from long-distance cyclists to casual explorers. Their enthusiasm reminds us that this trail will unite the country. It will take all of us together to close those gaps and finally complete it. Thank you for standing up with us today, for being such an important part of this special moment and this inspiring movement. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. And you are absolutely right. It will take all of us working together to bring the Great American Rail Trail to life. I'm here to tell you that the trail movement, the walking movement, the biking movement, we're all ready to provide leadership to see this unprecedented trail come to life. Friday's a really important day in this country, in our history. On May 10th, 1869, it's the day that the Transcontinental Railroad was completed. When that golden spike was driven into the ground, our country was connected in ways that we never thought possible. Today, 150 years later, we celebrate an entirely new way of exploring the nation on the trails built from these priceless railroad corridors. And just like the railroad brought economic opportunity to the communities it connected, the Great American Rail Trail will deliver powerful benefits to the nearly 50 million people, as Ryan mentioned, who live along the route. New opportunities for economic growth, new connections to the outdoors, new places to be physically active, and new ways to get where you want to go, whether you're walking or rolling. Today is a celebration of all that the Great American Rail Trail promises and all that it's already delivering. Today is a celebration of the trails movement and its power to get big, and I mean really big things done. Today is a celebration of togetherness. That is necessary to complete such a big, audacious project, I might say. Today is a chance to start saying, united, we trail. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Rick May, the Senior National Advisor for Recreation, to offer a few words. Thank you.
Well, I have to start off with a question. How many of you rode bicycles to work this morning? Okay, all right. Well, we got a little work to do out there, but that's good. Now, I ride a bicycle to work every day, and I check the counter that is over near the Potomac, and since May the 1st, 7,500 bicyclists have ridden that trail to D.C. Now, you think that this trail is going to get a workout? I think it will. Well, the Secretary of the Interior, David Bernhardt, sends his best wishes, and as stated, I am his Senior National Advisor for Recreation. He's given me a very big job to do because not only do I oversee things like trails, but I oversee all recreation that goes on in our country, north to south and east to west. The thing of it is, though, is that bicycling is my personal favorite, and the thing I love about it is that it's accessible to so many people. If you have things like e-bikes out there, it's also accessible to many people who are physically challenged, and this is one of my passions, is to help those folks out. Neither age nor infirmity should be a ban from someone going to the great outdoors. So, building a bicycle trail on a railroad bed is one of the most amazing ideas that I have ever heard of. And the reason for that is the gentle grades that the trains had to follow, right, to be able to get over the passes and everything, make it very easy to appeal to people who have varying athletic abilities. And so whether you're roller skating or whether you're hiking or whether you're in a chair or whatever it is, there is a way for you to get out and enjoy the trail. And if an activity is conveniently accessible, more people are going to participate. The draw to this particular trail, as it passes through some of our country's most beautiful areas, towns large and small, crossing rivers and cultures, is that it will bring people together for the morning workout, that weekend camping trip, the coast-to-coast trail, and then perhaps even to a nearby coffee shop. I've ridden the Great Divide now 5 times. It is a 2,900-mile-long bicycle race, starting in Alberta, Canada, climbs 210,000 vertical feet, crosses the Continental Divide 32 times, and ends at the port of entry into Mexico, Antelope Wells. I invited a friend of mine, a Marine who was wounded overseas, had a head wound from an IED blast, to ride with me. The daily physical effort on that bike, contact with nature, and someone to talk to who understood what he was going through made all the difference for this veteran. And I will never forget the look on his face as we finished the last few miles. The headwinds were strong, the temperatures hovered at 120 degrees, and I remember him turning to look at me just as we saw Antelope Wells in the distance, and with a face as red from sunburn as it was from effort, he looked at me and said, "Can we slow this thing down now?" And we laughed, and we went into Antelope Wells together, and we had a wonderful time there. But the best thing about that finish was that somewhere between Canada and Mexico, he stopped taking all those prescription drugs that he was on. So God's great outdoors did what pharmaceuticals could not. And I'd like to end by just saying that the Department of the Interior stands by to partner in this endeavor. And thank you for having me.
And now it's my great pleasure to bring up Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton from Washington, D.C. Congressman Norton is the chair of the House subcommittee, that's a mouthful, which governs trail funding. So you understand she's pretty important to us.
I knew I'd find you somewhere on the mall. But I'm very pleased to have found Rails to Trails and your Conservancy. You have been at the very top of my list for the entire time I have been on the Highways and Transportation Committee. So it's wonderful to see you in the nation's capital, as they would say, in person. I have had as my priority on the committee to get all the trails in my own region connected. And in every single transportation infrastructure bill, whether I've been in the majority, as I recently am, or in the minority, I have been able to get bipartisan support for all of the trails provisions that I have put in the bill. I want to especially thank the Capital Trails Coalition in the Washington metropolitan area and the Washington Area Bicycle Association. These are two of the groups that have worked very closely with me on our trails. You are in the nation's capital, but I view it as a leader in bicycling and in other forms of transportation. We're trying to keep people off the streets, and one of the best ways, of course, is to have them on trails. That's why we have trails all around our region. Our capital, it's called the Capitol Crescent Trail, as well as the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historic Park. Those are our two big trails that are part of the Great American Trail system. Now, we are well on our way to linking all of our trails across the United States, just as we have done in our highway system. That's been my goal. We're getting there.
Thanks so much, Congresswoman Norton. That's what it's all about, a nation of networks and spines. So now here's the big moment you all have been waiting for, the big reveal of the route of the Great American Rail Trail. I'm going to ask Patrick and Leanne to come on up. And please, speakers, board members, others, come on behind. I'm going to narrate where it goes, but please come behind this route. 3,700 miles. It starts here in the Capitol building, heads westward through Maryland, it then moves through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, continues through Indiana, Illinois, Wyoming, on through Nebraska, into Iowa, Montana, Idaho, and finally into Washington and its western terminus in Seattle. It's going to be quite a journey. Thank you all for supporting it. And I'll just note that we're lucky to have amazing host trails as part of the Great American. Those include iconic trails like the Cardinal Greenway in Indiana, the Cowboy Recreational Trail in Nebraska, and the Palouse to Cascades Trail in Washington. And this has been a great celebration. It will continue, but the broadcast spans all across the country. We're going next to Columbus, Ohio. After that, we'll be in Three Forks, Montana. Finally, in Cle Elum, Washington, to celebrate in every single time zone where the Great American will take place. Thank you so much. We appreciate all of your support. Let's all pledge support, and we'll be honored to hear from more partners here as we continue our own celebration. Thank you so much.
What an amazing event happening in DC. That is incredible. While so many people across the country love trails, many don't realize the federal role in getting trails built. It takes public dollars to build public amenities that we all cherish and use in our communities every single day. It's so important to have the bipartisan support that exists for the trail and the congressional leadership for trails. Thank you to Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton and Rick May for being with us today. Now, let's tune in to learn a little bit more about RTC's long-held vision for the Great American Rail Trail.
Imagine what's possible with a trail that connects the country. Picture pedaling across the entire country on a safe, seamless, and scenic pathway, taking in all the country has to offer from the most personal vantage point, the trail. A trail that will connect our own backyards to the next town, the next county, the next state, and all the way across the country. This is the Great American Rail Trail.
Me to the podium.
May 10th, 1869 was an important day in American history. On that day that the Golden Spike was driven and the Transcontinental Railroad was completed. The rail banking statute was essential to the creation of RTC, and its purpose was to preserve these priceless rail corridors, but in the interim, they could be used as trail. The Great American Rail Trail had been a vision of our founder. David dreamed of a trail that would connect the country just as the railroads had a century earlier. We began to see that this trail could be a tremendous gift to the nation.
Peter Harnick was one of the co-founders of Rails to Trails Conservancy. I noticed the map in Peter Harnick's office, a blue pen for a project, a red pen for a finished trail. And one day I said, well, look at that, Peter. It's lining up. We knew the potential for a cross-country trail.
Washington, D.C. was always earmarked as the eastern terminus, being our nation's capital and being home to an excellent trail network. Before we committed to bringing this vision to life, we wanted to be certain it was viable. In 2016, we began scouting potential routes through Wyoming and Montana, and we found that there was a lot of enthusiasm and momentum within the trails communities there. This prompted us to conduct an 18-month route assessment study, which helped us identify the current preferred route that we're now excited to share with the world. This route is comprised of over 125 existing trails, which are already open for use.
Partnerships are the lifeblood of this project and our movement. Local trail managers and advocates are on the front lines of creating and maintaining trails along the route. Governors are key to elevating the route through their state, and their agencies lead on implementation. We can't do this alone, and we're fortunate to already be working with valued partners, and we're beginning to make headway in terms of policies and programs that'll push the Great American forward.
The Great American Rail Trail is a gift to the nation. It connects this country in a way that we really haven't experienced before. We expect this to deliver a multiplier effect, not just for those who are using the Great American Rail Trail, but all those who get involved and are inspired to take this backbone across the country, but create more networks and spines. I hope that in the short term, people will just get out there and use it. There are many, many miles of trail that are open. They're ready for people.
I love hearing Marianne tell the story of the map that began to reveal the Great American Route in the mid-1980s. We are so lucky that the founders and the early staff of Rails to Trails Conservancy uncovered the potential for this trail and passionately pursued it for all these years. Now we're going to dig into the state leadership that's critical to trail development, especially as we embark on a 3,700-mile trail that will cross state, county, and local lines. Ohio is a powerful example of what the leadership should and could look like across the country. Let's see what the folks here in Columbus have to say.
Good afternoon and welcome to Columbus, Ohio. We are thrilled to have all of you from all over the country tuned in. It's a beautiful day on the Camp Chase Rail Trail. We are here at Wilson Road Park, right on the Great American Rail Trail with a whole bunch of our best friends from around the state of Ohio. In Columbus, the crowd's thrilled to be stopped too on the nationwide broadcast for the route reveal of the Great American Rail Trail. If you all look behind me, you're seeing a locomotive. That's not a locomotive up on blocks. That is a working locomotive on an active rail line. We are on a rail with trail. That's the Camp Chase Railroad, and it is just another wonderful example of the kinds of partnerships it takes to make trails not just on a local, regional, and state level, but to make trails across this country. This is the Camp Chase Rail with Trail, and that is the active Camp Chase Railroad who brought that locomotive in for this special event, and we want to thank them. The Midwest is and always has been the gateway to the West. We are again. That locomotive is pointing the direction we're heading. This trail, which is made possible because of the wonderful trail development happened by the trail movement in localities like Columbus, Ohio, all over this country. We will connect Washington to Washington. We will reconnect our communities in a way that has been missing for far too long. The network developments around Ohio, from Cuyahoga Greenways to the Tri-State Trails, to the nation's largest paved trail network, Miami Valley Trails, and right here, the Central Ohio Greenways, make this possible. This is going to be an amazing community experience. It's going to give an opportunity for a journey, a singular journey, community journey. and one that aligns with all of your state and local priorities. The things that people here in this crowd, here in Columbus and around Ohio and the country have been doing are being amplified. They're being built to allow this vision to become reality. We hope to leverage this cross-country trail to continue to grow our efforts to secure additional support, additional funding streams for trails right here in Ohio. We have amazing leadership in Ohio. Our state legislators have taken on huge leadership in the trail movement. We're very proud to have the Ohio Legislative Trails Caucus at the State House, a truly unique national model and role that they are leading and is really being adopted by states all over the country. It was unique to Ohio, and we should be proud of that. And there are many, many states, not just in the Midwest, but all over the country, looking at Ohio saying, how did you do that? So we should be, we have wonderful leadership at the state level. Grand projects like the Great American Rail Trail are only done if we have visionary leadership at the local, regional, state, and national level. We're lucky in Ohio to have all of those in abundance, and we should not take those for granted. The City of Columbus and local partners play a huge role in this conversation. As you heard earlier, the formation of Central Ohio Greenways, much more than a decade ago, it was really an early pioneer in greenway development and partnerships. It's a national model. I'm going to introduce one of the leaders to you right now. I'd like to introduce Director of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Mary Mertz. Director Mertz took over the Ohio Department of Natural Resources earlier this year after being nominated for the position by Governor Mike DeWine. She previously served as the first Assistant Attorney General under Mike DeWine in the Attorney General's office, where she oversaw the legal and administrative operations of the office. Director Mertz is also an avid sailor and outdoors person. She's passionate about protecting Ohio's natural wonders.
I am so excited about the Great American Rail Trail, both personally and professionally. I can't think of anything more exciting. So personally, I look at this trail and I think about the fact that I have 2 adult daughters who live in Washington, D.C., and I have a brother who lives in Seattle. And I think what I see is a family trip in the making. I might have to do a little bit of convincing. Our family did the Great Ohio Bike Adventure a few years back. A lot of training, a little exhausting, but we had a great time. We enjoyed it, and so it might take a few weeks to get this one done. But I'm excited, and I'm going to start convincing them tomorrow. But on a professional level, as the director of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, I can't think of anything better than giving people from all across the country the opportunity to traverse this great state. I mean, the things that they will see on this route from east to west or west to east are beautiful and amazing. This is a magical state. There is so much beauty here, and I'm anxious to share it with everyone. So this is very exciting for me. So at the Department of Natural Resources, we support a lot of trails. We have water trails. In fact, I just enjoyed one, a federally protected wild and scenic river, the Beaver Creek, on Monday. We have hiking trails. We have equestrian trails. We have ATV trails. We are a believer in all types of trails, and in the next few weeks you should see us release our own Ohio Trails vision. I understand there hadn't been one since 2005, and when I showed up a few months ago, they said, well, it's been a while and we've been working on this one for a year, and I said, let's get it done. So we're going to release that very soon. So I'm a lucky person. I think I have the best job in state government. I try not to tell the governor that too often because he gets a little jealous. But I get the chance to introduce someone who I am quite certain has the best job in city government, but we won't tell the mayor, will we? So Tony Collins is privileged to be in charge of nearly 400 city parks, lots of recreation centers, golf courses, and lots of trails. And I think he does a phenomenal job. I'm glad I'm a resident here and enjoy those trails myself, enjoy all the amenities. And so I'm excited to introduce him to join the celebration.
Thank you, Director. Great job. Great job. Welcome to Columbus, Ohio. On the behalf of Mayor Ginther,
the entire city of Columbus and the Columbus Recreation and Parks team, we couldn't be more proud and happy to celebrate this momentous event for the Great American Rail Trail to come through Columbus, Ohio on our very own Camp Chase Rail Trail. This is an incredible opportunity to serve our residents of Columbus and, as the director mentioned, highlight all the great things that are the city of Columbus, including our more than 120 miles of connected regional trails here in the city. We are very excited to make this possible and to be a partner. We couldn't do any of this without the partnerships that are mentioned earlier today. We know that those partnerships make it possible for us to connect our residents through the power of nature, through the power of conservation, and the power of health and wellness. We also know that our trail system is a part of our transportation network, and we know transportation is critical to the residents of our community. And our trail system is all about helping to increase the mobility of our residents. And the mobility of our residents will help create this to be America's true opportunity city. So we can't say enough about this connection to the Great American Rail Trail. We're thankful to be a part of it, excited to showcase Columbus, and recognize the fact that we couldn't do this without all the partnerships and specifically without the leadership of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. William Murdoch has been on top of this and in support from the very beginning, from day one, and we couldn't do this without the leadership of William and his team, and we thank Morpsey. Please give a big hand and welcome William Murdoch.
You were quick. Thanks, Tony. Thank you, Tony. We are so excited and proud to be here today. Personally, it's kind of fun for me because I used to intern for Tony a long time ago, and my first internship before that was at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Interns of the world, you can do good things. Trails matter in Central Ohio. We are so excited about the ability to do the Great American Rail Trail. At Morpsey, our local governments and communities are of all sizes, and they love trails. They care about transportation, they care about sustainability, they care about the environment. Trails are where that all comes together. Just in 2017, if you don't believe me, just in 2017, 11.5 million miles were traveled on our Central Ohio greenways. 11.5 million, and that number goes up every single year. Our community leaders are behind this too. We've interviewed and talked to a lot of them, and when you talk to them about trails, they say trails are important for economic development, they're important for health, they're important for quality of life, and they're just fun. We're so proud that our system has been recognized by the Rails to Trails Conservancy. We welcome all Americans to discover Central Ohio and our hundreds of miles of trails. Next up, we want to prioritize how to build our system more. You heard how it could be up to 500 miles. And now is the time to do that, to advance our goals. And something like the Great American Rail Trail allows us to get that motivation, that kick, to go out and find the funding to build the rest of our system. So thank you, everybody. Let's continue to advocate. And thank you to our partners at the Rails to Trails Conservancy. We are so excited. And back to Eric.
Thank you, William. Thank you, everybody. As you can see, as all of you around the country can see, Columbus, Ohio's ready. Columbus, Ohio's been ready for a long time. Come through Ohio, you're not going to be disappointed. And we're ready to go back to Brandy. You're coming up here. All right.
RTC staff for the win. So, wow, that enthusiasm in Ohio, that's what it's going to take to get this Great American Rail Trail built. We need that enthusiasm all across the country. We need that enthusiasm from trail users everywhere. But now, this is the real moment everyone at home watching and everyone around the country has been waiting for. We're going to take a really close look at the route of the Great American Rail Trail. route of the Great American Rail Trail is incredible. It's actually awe-inspiring. It is going to connect cities and towns, the plains and our mountains, the incredible diversity of our country. I have 3 little kids. I cannot wait to get out on it with them. I know that this is going to be a destination for all of us for so many, many generations to come. Next up, though, we're going to Three Forks, Montana and the Headwaters Trail system. This town and this trail are vital to a project like the Great American Rail Trail. They represent the community connections that a trail like this can celebrate, magnify, and actually create. It feels like everyone in town is actually celebrating with us today. I heard earlier that there was a huge cookie bake-off and that everyone in the town baked cookies, and we're all a little jealous here in Columbus because we don't have any cookies. I also heard that Jean Townsend, who's a city council person and a huge trail advocate, is going to be cooking hot dogs for over 100 people there. So they're having a ton of fun. This is an example of where the trail really is a centerpiece in the community. Kevin, let's hear a little bit more about what's happening in Three Forks.
All right. Welcome to the 3rd stop in the national broadcast of the route reveal of the Great American Rail Trail here in Three Forks, Montana. Yeah. Got a lively crowd here in Three Forks, Montana on the Headwaters Trail system. They're incredibly excited to have this trail coming through town and through Montana. We were eager to hold this event here in Montana. It holds a special place for this project. When we were starting out, we knew it would be pretty difficult to get through the Mountain West, and we visited out here, had a lot of meetings with people, had a lot of conversations, drove around, and the excitement was palpable, and we knew it was time to come through the Mountain West. So a major thank you to Montana for its commitment to outdoor recreation and to trails, and major thank you to the city of Three Forks for hosting us here. They've created the exceptional Headwaters Trail system, which is one of our gateway trails. We've got this sign here for you. We're going to have Jean put up on your trail that is the gateway trail, so I'll give that to Jean. This is a good marker for you guys to have here. Another thanks to the Gallatin Valley Land Trust for co-hosting this event with us here today. And to everyone in this crowd who has helped us get to this point where a trail across Montana is a reality, it's an inevitability, and it's a necessity. I want to thank you guys for all of that. You've done the hard work in building trails and maintaining trails, so give yourselves a huge round of applause for that. So I want to introduce Jean Townsend, City Council member here at the City of Three Forks. He has been instrumental in making the Headwaters Trail system happen. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Kevin, and the Rails to Trail Conservancy, and thank all of you who came out to this event today. Being chosen as one of the Great Way trails of the Great American Rail Trail is a great honor for the Headwaters Trail System and the city of Three Forks. The Headwaters Trail System started in 1997. Our goal at that time was a community trail that would loop around the Three Forks ponds. To us locals, that was the pits. However, the trail system grew steadily and in many directions as residents requested more trails. During the Lewis and Clark Bicentennial in 2005 and 6, the Headwaters Trail System partnered with Missouri River Headwaters State Park, Recreation Trails Program, and Gallatin County. After the completion of 2 pedestrian bridges and another 5 miles of trail, the city of Three Forks and the Missouri River Headwaters Park were connected. We saw an immediate increase in trail users. Three Forks was founded by the Milwaukee Railroad and has a rich railroad history. I believe that it is fitting that our town will be part of the Great American Rail Trail. We all know that this ambitious plan for a nationwide connecting trail system may take several years, but the Great American Rail Trail is already over 50% completed. My hope for the vision of the Great American Rail Trail by the Rails to Trails Conservancy will be the spark to light a fire under all of us to see this trail completed. In closing, I would again like to thank everyone for attending this event. The Headwaters Trail system wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the generosity of the Three Forks community. You folks made this happen. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Penelope Pierce, Executive Director of the Gallatin Valley Land Trust. Please welcome Penelope to Three Forks, and thank you.
Hi, everybody. I've always wanted to be on the back of a train. This is so exciting. I feel like Teddy Roosevelt. Thank you all for being here. I'm Penelope Pierce and Gallatin Valley Land Trust. And at GVLT, we really believe that by building trails, you build community. And that's true. And hopefully we're going to have community all over the state and all over the country. And we're really excited to be a part of it. GVLT is almost 30 years old. And since the time of our inception, almost 30 years ago, we've been working on the Main Street to the Mountains trail system. And the goal of our founder was to have people have the ability to walk from Main Street to the Bridgers to the north and the Gallatins to the south, all on a trail. 29 years later, we finally closed that gap. We were so excited about that. That happened last year. So once the Path to the M is completed this summer, you will be able to walk from the M and the Bridgers all the way down to the Gallatins, which is a really wonderful thing. And so our motto really is, and I think it's the motto of Rails to Trails, is, in the words of Winston Churchill, never, ever, ever, ever give up. And I want to thank Kevin with the Rails to Trails Conservancy and Gene Townsend, he's one of my heroes, for all the work that they do. It takes a village to make these trails possible, and we are so thrilled to be able to tie our Main Street to the Mountains trail system into what we consider sort of Main Street to Main Street, to connect all of us to one another. As I said, by building trails, we build community, and we also think trails connect people to the land and the landscape, and what could be better than that? So again, we're excited. It takes everyone who's here, all the people who've never given up on trails or the organizations that push them to make this happen. So thank you all. This is such a day of celebration. It's great to see you all. I will be quiet. And I now get to introduce my new friend and the chairman of the Montana Trails Coalition, Mr. Bob Walker.
Hi, everybody. A lot of good friends. The Montana Trails Coalition, we formed about 2 years ago with two can you hear me now? With two objectives. One was to find common ground. And when I say common ground, our group ranges from the Montana Trail Vehicle Riders Association to the Montana Wilderness Association. And we're working together, 13 groups statewide and regional. The idea of this cross-country trail, Kevin mentioned 25 years. I remember Marianne Fowler, who's been with the Rails to Trails Conservancy for a long time, talking about her dream to have a cross-country rail trail. Well, guess what? It's no longer a dream. It's going to happen. The trail is going to have a lot of benefits, and obviously recreation, transportation, natural resource protection, health and wellness. But I want to talk about economic benefits a little bit. Our state parks, just like Headwaters State Park nearby, our Headwaters State Park visitation has increased by 33% in the last 5 years. People are getting out, and they'll come to this trail when it's on the ground. The other thing is the economic impact statewide. Right now, outdoor recreation, the economic benefit is $7.1 billion. It's at the top of the food chain in Montana with agriculture. Another benefit is connecting communities, and when we talk about that, usually we talk about, well, connecting Livingston to Bozeman, to Three Forks, to Butte, and to Missoula, and to the Pacific Ocean eventually. But just like our Montana Trails Coalition, it's connecting communities of people. You'll see on this trail, you probably may see it right now here at Three Forks, hikers, bicyclers, cross-country skiers, bird watchers, horseback riders,
teachers, environmental education classes, and in portions of this trail to the west, even some motorized recreation. The other thing is connecting people would be grandparents to their children, and their children, and future generations. This trail will reach way into the future for people who follow. I want to mention real quickly, we stood in the governor's office just yesterday, a bunch of us. He signed Senate Bill 24, which will bring an additional $940,000 a year to Trails and Recreation Grant Program, an additional $900,000 for state parks, and additional just about $200,000 for fishing access sites and the recreation that happens there. The future's bright here in Montana. I can't wait to see people from all over the world come to Montana on this rail trail and enjoy the last best place. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks, Penelope. Thanks, Gene. Thank you all for being out here on this beautiful Montana day. We're going to keep the party going here in Three Forks with the barbecue. We're going to hang out for a while. Great American Rail Trail is coming through here. Back to you in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah. Oh, let's cheers to the crowd first here, though. It's a lively bunch here.
So much fun in Three Forks. Wow, I haven't heard cheering like that in a long time. They are so excited about the Great American Rail Trail, and so are people all over the country. The number one question that we've been getting about the Great American Rail Trail is, when can I use it? In January, we put out a vision of this plan, we put out the states, and people are just like coming out of the woodwork. When can I get out there? When can I get out there? The answer is you can get out there right now. It's 52% complete. All of the existing trails that are hosting the route, you can find them on traillink.com. You can dig into the details of the route on greatamericanrailtrail.org. But the good news is, get out there, start using the trail, start telling people about it, start telling us about it. We want to hear about your experience. And we have a video to show you just how epic that experience will be.
Here we are on the Camp Chase Trail, a 16.2-mile segment of the Ohio to Erie Trail.
Welcome to Western Nebraska. My name is Trisha, and we love the Cowboy Trail.
We are on the western portion of the Cowboy Nature and Recreation Trail, just outside of Chadron, Nebraska.
We run right alongside Bordeaux Creek here. There are lots of wildlife, including beaver in the area.
The grants from the Rails Trails Conservancy will help us get it done in the next year.
The Trail of the Coeur d'Alene, North Idaho's Rail Trails Foundation Hall of Fame Top 10 Rides, is the Cadillac of the nation's rail trail system.
This bridge is over the East Fork of the Madison River on an abandoned branch line of the Milwaukee Railroad.
We have been working to present to the people of the state of Washington a cross-state trail that will give them all the recreational experiences they could possibly dream of.
This thing is going to be epic. I can't encourage people enough to start exploring the trail right now. Reminder, traillink.com is a great resource so you can find out what each of the trails' surface will be like, what the experience will be like, what you need to plan for, but you can get out there right now and do it. And we want you to share your experience, check in on the Great American Rail Trail. You can do that on Facebook and Instagram at Great American Rail Trail exists. You can check in, tell us all about it. Next, we're about to head to Washington, South Cle Elum, Washington, and this is our final celebration. It's a celebration all about the trail user. We even have Wagoneers out there because the Wagoneers and the equestrians in Washington State have been vital to the preservation of the Palouse to Cascades Trail, which is where our event will be. So Liz, Marianne, crew out there in Washington, tell us what's going on.
Good morning from Washington State. Thank you so much. My name is Liz Thorstensen. I'm Vice President of Trail Development at Rails to Trails Conservancy. It's my honor and pleasure to be here with you this morning. We're so excited to be here on the final stop of the Great American Rail Trail route reveal. We're celebrating Washington State's role as the Western Terminus. And while you can take the trail east to west or west to east, we took it east to west today as we followed the course of the railroad in unveiling the details of the Great American Rail Trail. I want to thank especially to our incredible co-hosting partners, Cascade Rail Foundation, the Palouse to Cascades Trail Coalition, and Washington State Parks for helping us make this event possible. It really wouldn't be possible without their help. And to so many of the groups that are here that made this amazing trail, the Palouse to Cascades State Park Trail, a reality. It's my honor to now pass the baton and introduce John Rathbone, RTC's Vice Chair of our board and retired Chief Financial Officer of Norfolk Southern Railroad. John.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. It's wonderful to be here today to help celebrate the announcement of the Great American Rail Trail. It's a 3,700-mile transcontinental bike trail that starts right here in Washington and goes to Washington, D.C. For 150 years ago, this week, the first Transcontinental Railroad was completed. It took the sacrifice of thousands of people to build that railroad, and they came from all over the world to work here. Their sacrifice and the sacrifice and hard work of those who followed left us with a great heritage. And it's the mission of the Rails to Trails Conservancy to preserve that heritage, to preserve those rail corridors. Working with railroad companies and using the rail banking statute that's available to us, the Rails to Trails Conservancy has preserved over 23,000 miles of trails in this country. And today, we are taking on our most ambitious project, the Great American Rail Trail. And that trail will be the legacy that we leave for future generations. I thank you, as others have, for your support and guidance and help over the years in making this possible today. And now I'd like to bring to the stage Don Hawk, who's the director of the Washington State Park and Recs Commission.
Thank you, John. What a great day to be your director, and thank you for coming out to your facility in your state park trail. I wanted you to know the Commission is very supportive of trails and has made it their priority. In fact, we have several trails, long-distance trails. You may not understand that we have 500 long-distance trails. We have the Willapa Hills Trail, the Columbia Plateau Trail, the Klickitat Trail, the Spokane River Centennial Trail, and of course the gem, our Palouse to Cascades Trail. What a perfect addition to the Great American Rail Trail. We have over 200 miles of trails. We have amazing, breathtaking trestles and bridges, 6 tunnels. I believe we have the longest tunnel in the world, rail trail in the world, over 2.2 miles. You can't beat that on there. So this wouldn't have been possible without all your support, your advocacy. As you know, we're working on plans and designs and getting ready to rehabilitate the Renslow Trestle over I-90. And because of your good work, the governor and the legislature have supported trails across the state, including funding $5 million to the Beverly Bridge. We also received funding to do some work on the Tico Treso, some surfacing, and for general operations of the trail. So we feel really confident, and this is really a shot in our arm to keep our trails moving forward. So I want to thank you again for coming out. Thank you for your support for trails. You see I've got a cane here, but I still walk and bike, and I even ride on wagons on the trail. So I'm a user also. So thank you. So next, it's my pleasure to introduce Marilyn Hedges, who is the board chair of the Palouse to Cascades Trail Coalition.
Thank you, Director Hawk, for the investment in our state trails. It was only 3 short years ago that a group of volunteers gathered together to found an organization dedicated to the promotion and improvement of the trail we are enjoying today. At that time, it was called the John Wayne Pioneer Trail, and we called ourselves the Friends of the John Wayne Pioneer Trail. But we all had in common an appreciation for the potential of this nearly 300-mile trail across the state of Washington. It highlights the state's diverse landscape, and we have no other trail quite like it in the state. At that time, however, the eastern half of the trail was undeveloped, underfunded, underappreciated, and largely unheard of by the majority of the public. But things have been changing since then. First, the trail received a brand new name, the Palouse to Cascade State Park Trail, and this new name better describes the span of the trail from the scenic rolling agricultural hills of the Palouse region to the evergreen forests of the Cascade Mountains in the west. And accordingly, we changed our name to the Palouse to Cascades Trail Coalition. But what is really great is that since we first started our efforts on behalf of the trail, we are seeing new progress. How great is it that we are getting national attention today as part of something even bigger, the Great American Rail Trail. And the recent icing on the cake is that last month, our state legislature funded a number of important Palouse to Cascades trail projects in the next capital budget. These are exciting times for us. The most important trail project to receive funding, as been alluded to here, is the renovation of the Beverly Bridge. The Beverly Bridge is a spectacular half-mile-long trestle crossing the Columbia River, the mighty river that bisects our state into east and west. With the Beverly Bridge closed for years due to safety concerns, our trail was bisected too, and this posed the trail's most significant and problematic trail gap. A few years ago, state parks conducted a number of public meetings to listen to the public's concerns about the trail, and high on the list of priorities was fixing this bridge. We listened to and agreed, but funding this multi-million-dollar project seemed daunting. We weren't sure even where to start, but we started. We rallied support, we addressed it on our website, in social media. We nominated it for one of Washington's most endangered historic structures where it gained recognition. And along with many others, we wrote letters, made phone calls and videos. We gave presentations, and along with a little help from our friends, coalition members, and others, we got the funding. I want to thank everyone who helped with this and turn this over to the group that we owe the very existence of the trail to, the John Wayne Pioneer Wagons and Riders and Olympic Ranger.
Thanks, Marilyn. Hi, everybody. I'm honored to be here representing the John Wayne Pioneer Wagons and Riders. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving and promoting the Palouse to Cascades Trail, formerly known as the John Wayne Iron Horse Trail. For the past 38 years, the club, primarily made up of horseback riders, and teamsters, have worked to improve the trail by funding and building group campgrounds on state parks, installing hitch rails, mounting blocks, installing kiosks at trailheads, decking trestles, and upgrading gates. But the most recognized thing they do is sponsor an annual 18-day cross-state ride that spans 220 plus miles across Washington State. What an adventure. I was hooked at day one, and I will now be participating in my 3rd consecutive year with a large role as social director, similar to a cruise director on a ship. Fun is definitely on the agenda. 2019 marks the 38th annual ride with 150 participants. We sold out. Joining us from not only Washington State, but multiple other states, including California, Oregon, Idaho, Ohio, Arizona, and even a few friendly Canadian neighbors dropped down to ride with us. In 2018, I earned my first White Scarf Award, the coveted prize for riding every mile of the trip, which makes for a great challenge. But really what I think is the most fun is the camaraderie and friendships you build along the way, as well as the opportunity to ride, walk, or bike point to point, experiencing the state of Washington. This is what I believe brings back the participants year after year after year. I love supporting the small towns and communities that we travel through, giving them an economic boost. And I can only imagine what this could do for so many other communities that fall within this almost 4,000-mile trail once completed. Personally, I feel this will fit well into the growing tourism industry. Think travel companies that specialize in adventures on horseback, in a wagon, or cycling cross-country on the Great American Rail Trail. Who wants to start a new company? I'm fairly certain that when the founders of this club collaborated on creating a ride that crossed the state of Washington, they never could have imagined that we would be here today celebrating that their dream trail would now be the final portion of the Great American Rail Trail. Thank you. Now back to you, Liz.
Thank you so much, Olympia. Thank you so much to all of our great partners and speakers. And now I want to give one last shout out to Washington State. Thank you so much again. We're so happy that you've been here with us today and making the Great American Rail Trail such an amazing possibility. So we're going to do one more cheer. We're going to say, let's go for the Great American Rail Trail, Washington State. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Thank you. Thank you so much.
What an incredible series of events. From DC, where we heard about the federal support that exists for this grand vision, to Ohio, where we saw what a really great trail state looks like and the model that needs to be replicated across the country, to Montana, where the community is baking cookies, grilling hot dogs, and celebrating the economic development and the potential of this trail for their community, and in Washington, where the enthusiasm and the trail users and the rich history of the railroads and how all of that comes together to make the Great American Rail Trail a viable project for this nation. It's going to take all of us together to complete the Great American Rail Trail. This is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen without a whole heck of a lot of support from a lot of people. So I know you heard earlier from Ryan about pledging. We need 1 million people to stand up with Rails to Trails Conservancy and say they want the Great American Rail Trail too. We need to show the strength and the solidarity of the trails movement. We need to show that America wants this trail. This is America's trail, and we need you to say that with us. So please go to greatamericanrailtrail.org right now. Take the pledge. Let folks know how much this trail means to you. And don't forget, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Great American Rail Trail or at Rails to Trails, and you can hashtag GRTAmerican to share your experience. So just a quick recap. 3,700 miles of trail between Washington, D.C. and Washington State. 1,900 miles of trail that already exists that's hosting the route right now. You can get out there. You can use it today. Traillink.com to find the information on those 125 plus trails that already are open and ready for you. 12 states and the District of Columbia that will be connected by a trail, creating an all-new experience, a whole new way to experience the United States of America. 50 million people within 50 miles of the trail are going to directly benefit, and all of us will benefit because we'll have this new incredible destination to visit. So thank you for your support, thank you for your enthusiasm, and thank you for being with us today as we celebrated the preferred route of the Great American Rail Trail. See you later, everyone.